Wish TV is focused on family and the community and is committed to sharing the stories of those who are making a difference every day. From the All Indiana Podcast Network and Wish TV, this is Behind the Eight Podcast with Wish TV's George Mallet.
This is George Mallet. Lena Pringle is the newest member of Wish TV's Daybreak team. This energetic anchor woman is at once a passionate journalist and an entertaining ball of fire. In a moment, Lena Pringle.
What can 160 years of experience teach you about the future? A lot, especially when it comes to protecting what matters. At Pacific Life, we've helped people and businesses confidently embrace the future with life insurance, retirement income, and employee benefits. With strategies built on strength and trust, and a promise to be here for you today and tomorrow. Ask a financial professional how Pacific Life can help you today. Pacific Life Insurance Company, Omaha, Nebraska, and in New York. Pacific Life and Annuity, Phoenix, Arizona.
And we are now joined by the pride of South Carolina, Lena Pringle. And Lena, I just wanted to get the Lena story. You're a Southern girl originally, and here you are in Indianapolis. Let's start with your career. Where did you start?
Okay, so this is interesting. To make a long story short, I went to Syracuse University after I graduated from Furman University and got my undergrad in communications and Spanish, and I knew that I wanted to get into the broadcast field, but I didn't have a ton of experience in actual broadcast journalism versus just communications as a whole. So I went to Syracuse all the way up, upstate New York, so I'm not unfamiliar with the cold, although I did just come here from Florida. But post Syracuse, I ended up working in DC. I was doing some freelance stuff, sports reporting. Originally, my goal was to become a sports reporter. I actually never wanted to get into local news. Once I got to Syracuse, I was like, oh, it's going to be entertainment, it's going to be sports. But after my freelancing time in DC, I actually got my first local news job in Columbia, South Carolina, so one of the hometowns that I was raised in. And so from Columbia, South Carolina, and being a morning show reporter and fill-in anchor, I then went to Jacksonville. And when I was in Jacksonville, I wore a lot of hats. I anchored, I did traffic, and I reported, and I MMJ'd, did a lot of stuff in Jacksonville. Took an actual kind of detour, like 6.5 months out of news, just to take a break and live my life. And then I found myself in Indianapolis. And so not too long of a journey. I bounced around to a few different places, but I'm definitely very thankful that I decided to go with local news in the long run. Sports is never going to be off the table. I will always love sports. That's really because I played soccer for half my life. Dad's a football coach. So sports have always been a part of my life. So it's very beautiful that I found myself in the sports town.
Well, and it's storytelling is storytelling. So there's no reason you can't transition back and forth between the two topics. So how has Indianapolis been? I mean, it hasn't been long, but my impression is that you bring a lot of energy here and that the community is picking up on that. Yeah,
so far things have been great. I cannot wait to get more involved in the community. That's been my goal every place I've been at, is not, I want you to see me more in the community than just what you see me on TV. And I think it's interesting because I set these really, really high goals for all the community organizations I wanted to reach out to by November. I've been here for 2 months and a week, and so I decided to give myself some time to at least get acclimated to the Midwest, learn about so many of our viewing areas and the communities, and also I've been eating my way through Indy, which has been very beautiful. I have definitely enjoyed every meal. I actually haven't had a bad meal, and I've probably eaten at 35 different places so far. So we've been eating a lot, and I've been to the Pacers games, and then out at Lucas Oil, and so I have been very much enjoying Indy. I love all the outdoor stuff, and I was so happy that I came in the fall because it was absolutely stunning and gorgeous. I went to Holiday Park, Eagle Creek Park, Crown Hill Cemetery, and so I've been able to do a lot. But I will say 2023, once I'm even more acclimated, I look forward to being able to do a lot more community events. I want to read to your kids. I want to help with donations. I want to do blood drives, MC events. So I'm very much looking forward to, as I learn more about this city, to be able to learn more about the community organizations that make it so great and to be a part of them.
And I think my audience is realizing why I used the word energy in describing you. Where does that come from? Where does that energy come from?
I think at this point in my life, it comes from understanding that I want to be a person that puts out more good than bad. Mm-hmm. And you can be a lot of things every day when you wake up. And so I just choose to be a person that thrives off of energy. I can't change a lot of the things around me. The only thing I can control is me. So I try to put a high emphasis on having good energy. And also I think this phrase was told to me about maybe 20 years ago. I was always told that people will forget your name. They'll forget how you look. They'll forget what you wear. They'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think that my goal is, if you run into me, I at least want there to be love, light, and positivity that follows that interaction. So I think naturally I'm just a more upbeat person that has not always been like this in my life. But I think as I get older and older and hold on to the fact that life is short and I want to be good, as much good as possible, I think it's kind of easy to have a little bit more high energy. And also, it's just about perspective. There's a lot of things, especially in news, that you see day in and day out that could drain your energy. And so I try to remember that for all the other things that could be going wrong in my life, they're not. So I try to just have good energy, and hopefully that is something that allows people, it's contagious, So I hope if I pass a little bit of good, somebody then can pass that along as well.
Now, one job that absolutely requires energy is anchoring morning news. I've done it a couple of times in my career. I did it in Philly. I did it in North Carolina. I found it was much harder when I was your age than when I was older. So how are you adjusting to the early morning shift?
So, it's interesting because I've actually always been on a morning show. So every shift I've had in local news has been on mornings. People typically say my energy is good for a morning show. Yeah. So it's not really the transition. Honestly, it's transitioning from being on a break for so long. I was up at like 3 a.m. watching Netflix. Now I'm up at 3 a.m. in here editing scripts. And so I think right now it's the transition of just getting back acclimated to the flow of news. And I also have to get up. This is the earliest I've ever had to be up on a morning shift because my role is entirely different than any role I've had before. So that's a bit of an adjustment, but I'm learning that if I could get a good 7 hours of sleep at night, that's great. That's cute. Okay. It never really happens. So I am doing split sleep schedules, which helps me out, a couple of naps here or there. So, but I feel so far so good. Now, when the winter really comes, then you can ask me again because I don't know what that transition to 10-degree weather is going to look like at 2 a.m.,
I think you'll find, especially having lived in Syracuse, it's not nearly as bad here as Syracuse.
I hope
Never
not,
will be.
But it's been pretty windy,
Yeah.
I will say. It's very windy here.
So what are your goals in terms of projects or stories that you want to tell? And I understand you might not even have mapped that out yet. But.
Yeah, so I know a few things. I have very much loved enterprise storytelling since I got into journalism, and a lot of my enterprise stories have come from being involved in the community and coming across different people that have stories at events or at schools. And so I am very much looking forward to leaving space to really get to know this community and tell those stories from people in which how they bring them to me. But also on top of that, I really want to do some stories about mental health. It's a huge passion of mine, and it's something that I feel like over the past 2 years, we have talked about it more and more just because of the world-related circumstances that have happened. But it's been something that I've been passionate about for a very long time. I lost my cousin to suicide years ago, and my family, and just different mental health issues. And so really breaking down that stigma and giving people the proper resources to navigate, especially in 2022 going into 2023 when things are still we are just living in very different times.
Yes, we are.
And so mental health stories are definitely something that's very big for me. And then also stories of empowerment. I love stories that focus on women. I'm a woman, and I love showing stories where women are impacting their communities or rising above odds, or women inspiring other women to do and be more. And so I look forward to telling those stories as well. And I definitely know I'm also down to tell any story that comes my way because I love people's stories. And so I look forward to being out in the community and being able to really get that Rolodex and start telling more and more stories.
She is Lena Pringle. You can check her out every single morning on Daybreak right here on Wish TV8. Lena, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
My thanks to Lena Pringle for giving this Behind the Eight podcast a shot of energy. I'm George Mallet. Be sure to listen and subscribe to Behind the Eight and all of the informative podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Behind the Eight Podcast with Wish TV's George Mallet. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And connect for even more on Facebook and at wishtv.com.